The burn is an ache now. It pulses like it's bursting, creeping hot up through his ribs and smarting across his hip. Are his eyes open? Bakugou thinks he can see, but he might just be dreaming. He remembers Deku. He was here. He remembers Might, too, standing over him. Side scarred and mottled, then ripping away, his flesh tearing back until his insides spill out wet onto his feet. Bakugou thinks he might throw up, but his eyelids are too heavy. He tries calling out to them, but every move he makes sends pain up through his side, making him fall deeper and deeper into sleep. He struggles, gasping until his eyes open and Mina is there, frantic beside him. His voice is not his own when he speaks. Might, he was shot. He lived, but he died, Mina. Deku's dead. He's... She looks horrified, and Bakugou wonders if he's dying too. She says something, not looking at him. He reaches for her attention, afraid she'll fall away, just... Like everything inside is spilling out, Mina. Deku, they're waiting for him. Ghost behind his eyelids, an exit wound on Deku's freckled chest and Might's stomach tangled around his feet. They're waiting for him, and he's dying. He's dying. He's dying. Kirishima calls her in one night when Bakugou's skin goes deathly cold and his heartbeat shallows. Sero comes too. Mina lies next to him, sobbing, her ear pressed over his fading heartbeat. Kirishima sits by her head, smoothing down her wild hair as she cries, tears in his own eyes. Sero sits in the desk chair by his bed, frowning hard. His mind whirs. He can't believe that Bakugou isn't recovering, but doesn't want to ignore the signs. Kirishima feels a panic rise at the thought of Bakugou just not being there. He feels it swell in the bottom of his throat and takes his breath away. He curls into himself to press it down into his stomach and be strong for the crew, who's known their captain much longer than he has. He forces a breath deep into his lungs and looks at Bakugou's pale, thin face, no vigor left in his features. Seeing him like this is harrowing to his heart. In the morning, Kirishima is afraid to open his eyes. He can feel that Mina is still half lying on him, half on Bakugou. Slowly, he opens his eyes. Sero isn't in the room anymore. Bakugou isn't lying down anymore. Bakugou isn't lying down anymore. Bakugou, Kirishima says, immediately shaking Mina awake. Bakugou. Captain Bakugou. Bakugou croaks out. Bakugou! Mina screams, throwing her arms around him. He hisses and she pulls back and punches him in the arm. You almost died. Please, I'm fine, Bakugou says, coughing around his words. Kirishima gets out of bed and grabs his water bag. Out of habit, he tilts it to Bakugou's lips. The strangled glare Bakugou sends his way puts Kirishima's heart at ease. He gives Bakugou the water bag with a small smile. Mina is crying again, smothering Bakugou in her embrace. She even goes so far as to kiss all over his face, which makes him push her away, color finally in his cheeks. Mina, Kirishima laughs. He's still injured, remember? Oh, right, she says, getting up. Her eyes are puffy from all her tears, but her smile is bright. Kirishima missed that too. Kirishima knows he should let the crew know, but he is afraid that their clamoring might force Bakugou out of bed too soon. How are you feeling? Mina asks, jumping on the balls of her feet. Hungry, Bakugou says. Feel like I haven't eaten in weeks. Kirishima and Mina share a glance. Well, you kind of haven't, Mina says gently. You've been out of it for a while, Captain. Then get me some food, Bakugou says. Right, I'll do that. You speak to your nurse now. I'm sure you have a couple of words to say, Mina says, practically skipping out of the room. Nurse? Bakugou lifts an eyebrow. His usual intimidation is slowly coming back, and it makes Kirishima grin. Mina unofficially appointed me. Kirishima rubs the back of his neck. Bakugou frowns. You didn't cut anything off. You don't have to, Kirishima says. At least that's my opinion. So you used your opinion to treat me, against common medical procedure. Well, yes, Kirishima says. And I think it saved your life. Bakugou snorts. I'm not scolding you. Kirishima is quiet. If you say you're sorry, I'll come over there and end you. I will. But no, Bakugou says, sighing. He coughs and rubs his eyes with the palms of his hands. You idiot. You're more than just leverage. Wow, thank you, Kirishima says, but he's smiling. You have an unofficial title now. That's gotta count for something. Was I the only one injured? This badly, yes. Other than just minor cuts. Well, time to see the damage. Kirishima helps him lift off the furs and Bakugou curses. Does it hurt? Of course it hurts, idiot. And you fucking ruined these furs with my blood. That's never coming out. Kirishima presses his lips together, trying to suppress his laugh, but he can't. Bakugou just mutters next to him. The blood on his bandages is dried, and when Kirishima takes it off, he sees the wound is mostly closed now, too. It's looking good, Kirishima says. Good being relative, I guess, Bakugou says, lip upturned in aversion to it. It ruined my tattoo. And your muscle, Kirishima says. It's dry on the outside, but the inside is probably still healing. You've got to take it easy. Bakugou nods. Whatever, as long as I'm not dead. That was my favorite tattoo, though, Kirishima says, smoothing his thumb over the rose petals around where the skin is torn. Bakugou frowns. Sorry. Kirishima pulls his hand back. So taking it easy means I can't fuck you for a while. Kirishima laughs a little, happy he's back. That's precisely what it means, Captain. This is stupid, Bakugou says, lying down again. With Bakugou pronounced fully alive and kind of well, Sato cooks up a hearty meal for the crew in celebration. Bakugou makes his way, very, very slowly to the kitchen, glaring all the while at Sero, who's helping him along. Kirishima tries to limit the rum he has, just in case it makes him clumsy, and instead of ignoring him, Bakugou listens to his guidance. Kirishima supposes it's partly his way of showing appreciation, and he's grateful. He mentions it to Mina later, and she shakes her head. He mentioned might when he was out of it, she says quietly. He took care of Bakugou and Deku. He was shot pretty close to where Bakugou got shot too. Everyone thought he was healed, but months later he died. It got infected or it poisoned him or something. Then Deku died the same way, but the bullet went right through his back, burst out of his chest. Bakugou couldn't even get his body back. Kirishima looks at him, sitting amongst his celebrating crew, gritting his teeth against the pain so it barely shows on his hollow face. He's scared. Kirishima is too. He prays he's healing well. He prays his captain will live. At night, Kirishima redresses his wound, and when Bakugou settles into bed, he averts his gaze and catches his arm. Clearly now, Kirishima sees that it's not an order, but a quiet request. He settles in next to him on his left. Bakugou falls asleep quickly, tired from the most movement he's had in weeks. Kirishima finds his arm and runs his fingers down until he fits their hands together. He feels braver when Bakugou isn't there to glare at his small displays of care. Bakugou's hand squeezes back just a little. Kirishima knows that this is a bad idea, that it's likely he'll get hurt. Mina said herself for him to be careful, but Kirishima hasn't been careful since he left his father. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But right now, Kirishima wants to focus on the growing feelings of affection he has for his captain. The way Bakugou's hand feels in his, and the skip of his heart when he lets slip endearment. Kirishima rests his head next to Bakugou's, feeling the warmth of his body that's finally natural again as he drifts into sleep, unbroken by any nightmare. The next days are lively. Bakugou reaffirms their next route to look for a clue for their map, the largest trading island of UA. They have a few stops until then for supplies and planned trades. The last bits of the map are the hardest to come by, and Bakugou is taking his time to be sure of the information, and to assume a leisurely pace of a pirate definitely not close to finding a legendary treasure. Kirishima asked him once how he even came across information so specific and discreet. Monoma airily explained that you need just know the right people to ask, who held connections in the past and what their motives would be thereafter. Sero said he was a spy, but if that's true, Monoma is a detective as well. And why do you guys search for treasure? Kirishima asks, giddy from his solid acceptance into the crew. Saving their captain really had its perks. One perk being they pay attention to his questions, even if they're benighted. Like, with all the riches, you could be set for life. The crew around him is silent until someone yells out rum, and the crew uppours in laughter. The adventure, hun, Mina says, draping an arm around his shoulder, hugging him as she passes. Bakugou stands next to him. He hides his limp well, and if the crew didn't know his pain, you wouldn't be able to tell he was injured. Mina left out the nightmares and screaming when she recounted how Kirishima tended to him. At our next port, I'm going to get you a proper sword and teach you how to use it, Bakugou says. I'd be grateful for a sword, but I don't think you're ready for fighting lessons. I'll be ready by the time we dock, but I'll make sure I'm healed first. I didn't come this far to die now, especially by your hand in a shitty sword fight. Kirishima laughs. Bakugou eyes him for a moment. You keep fucking doing that. Doing what? Kirishima asks, suddenly conscious of himself, the way he's standing, the feeling of sea salt on his face, the weight of the braid tying his hair back. Fucking laughing or whatever, Bakugou mutters. Oh, Kirishima says. He smiles a little. I guess I'm just happy. Bakugou looks away. You're an idiot. Kirishima smiles wider, nodding. Yeah, he probably is. Bakugou rests earlier than usual now. He sleeps longer, and oftentimes Kirishima can tell he's working hard to keep his face from flinching when the boat breaks a wave and it shifts unexpectedly under his feet, tossing him into a more forceful step than he anticipated. But all in all, Kirishima thinks he's healing well, and incredibly fast. He does wake up now, though late in the night, sweating hard and his breath heaving. Sometimes he's still sleeping, dreaming when he does so, with his sleep-heavy mouth forming mangled words of no, don't, and deku. Kirishima woke once beside him, to see tears streaming down his face. He was asleep, but his eyes were wide open, staring vacantly ahead. It was terrifying. Kirishima wiped the sweat from his brow and ran his fingers through his hair until his breathing calmed and his eyes closed, and he settled his head back into the pillows. Kirishima thinks the fever he had must have triggered something that restarted the nightmares Mina mentioned he had in the past. He frowns and tries to lull him back to sleep, petting his head and humming lullabies he barely remembers. Kirishima doesn't know if Bakugou remembers anything when he wakes, but he doesn't mention it to him either way. It's not every night, but Kirishima's heart aches seeing him like that nonetheless, especially when his explosive demeanor was on the mend. Seeing his captain fall so short of his true likeness was difficult to watch. Kirishima was adamant that he not overexert himself, worried that the wound would open inside and wreak havoc on his body. He winces every time Bakugou insists on climbing the stairs to the wheel or makes his way down to the kitchen more than thrice a day. But mostly he's intent on tracing his hand up Kirishima's thigh, a low look in his eyes that Kirishima knows means he wants him to go to bed with him. It's hard rejecting him, but Kirishima is sure that if too much blood rushes low, Bakugou would pass out or something horrible. He's being cautious, perhaps overly so, but the guilt still weighs on his shoulders, and he wants no further harm to befall their captain. Bakugou starts studying again, but he gets frustrated quickly, finding that he's forgetting things he knows he's learned before. Kirishima guesses it's the stress of his injury and being away from it for a while. He's writing now, his letters still shaky, but he's concentrating so hard that Kirishima honestly thinks that he just has a natural chicken scratch of a style.
Kirishima,
Bakugou says, shifting in his seat. Mina put a pillow down on the wooden seat for him, and he threw it off, licking his tongue. But Kirishima suspects he's regretting it now, and too proud to regain the comfort.
how do you spell my name?
Kirishima almost slaps himself. That's probably the first thing he should have shown him, for God's sake. He spells it out slowly, and Bakugou dips his fountain pen into the ink carefully, scratching down the parchment intently. When he's finished, Bakugou looks at his work proudly, holding it up. His orange eyes flash in the candlelight. Kirishima feels proud of him too, but he wouldn't say that.
Captain,
Bakugou says.
tell me how to spell it.
Kirishima spells it out, and Bakugou writes it before his name. He doesn't leave enough space for the letters, and he writes them smaller as he gets closer to the B, but he manages to fit it in, and he's pleased, but he rewrites it all underneath, memorizing it quickly.
My first name,
Bakugou says after a while. Kirishima tells him, and he writes it down. Bakugou leans over the parchment then, mouth silently working around those letters. When he finishes, he shoves the paper over to Kirishima to have a look. Kirishima Eijirou. Kirishima's cheeks flare up, and his heart gives a squeeze. It's so adorable, Kirishima almost doesn't want to tell him it's wrong, but he takes the pen and dips it in the ink so he can rewrite it properly beneath Bakugou's scrawl. Bakugou looks at it and frowns.
You don't have to show off that your letters are all fancy and shit.
That's... Kirishima starts.
Then why are they all fucking loopy?
That's how I learned to write, Kirishima says.
Then why aren't you teaching me to write like that, shithead?
Bakugou says, annoyed. It's easier to learn it simply. Then you can add loops later if you really want to, Kirishima says, not bothered by his captain's assertiveness. He wouldn't be Bakugou otherwise.
I don't want to add loops. It looks fucking dumb.
Bakugou mumbles and rewrites Kirishima's name. His voice starts low, then sounds out the syllables more as he nears the end of spelling Kirishima's name. He repeats it to himself, quiet under his breath, then just...
Eijirou.
Kirishima jolts, cheeks feeling warmer.
Eijirou.
Bakugou says again, elbow on his deck, fist propping up his head. He grins, sly, his eyes narrowed. He knows exactly what he's doing. His voice is low and sensual. It's private and pressing up against the edges of intimacy. But it's teasing, and because it's Bakugou's rough voice saying it, it teases Kirishima even more. It makes him hot under the collar of his shirt.
Maybe that's what I should call you. Kiri might be too suspicious now that the seas suspect we have a Kirishima.
Kirishima knows that pirates don't have manners that follow nobilities. He knows that they're crass and their lives are almost opposite of the bare minimum of a standard in a royal household. But he can't help but be embarrassed by the captain calling his name out of turn. He dismissed it before, when Bakugou was fevered and delirious, but now, to say it with intent and teasing, it makes his heart flustered along with his cheeks.
Eijirou.
Bakugou's hand is on his knee. He's massaging him, moving his ink-stained fingers up his thigh, squeezing and rubbing, seeming nonchalant.
You're shy.
What if I said your first name? Kirishima says, defensive. I'm not used to such disorder. Bakugou barks his laugh.
Unless you want to sleep outside tonight, then go ahead. Remember your place.
Kirishima thinks he's joking this time, but Bakugou would probably still go so far as to make him sleep outside for the fun of it, and Kirishima didn't really own a spot in Bakugou's bed just because he was his whatever he was to him. Besides, he thinks saying Katsuki out loud would be just as embarrassing for him at this point. The intimacy it carries is too much for Kirishima to throw out. Just because he's living as a pirate doesn't mean he has to forget all the ideals he grew up with. Aye, aye, Captain. Bakugou presses his lips together, fighting back a laugh.
Don't ever say that again.
Kirishima laughs, and Bakugou leans in to kiss him. It catches him off guard. There was very little affection between them as of late, very little closeness, besides their bodies lightly pressed together as they slept. Bakugo's hand is still on his thigh, and it squeezes hard, sending a jolt through Kirishima's stomach, but he pulls away, and Bakugo looks at him, annoyed. I really don't think you're healed enough for that kind of exertion, Kirishima says. I'm fine. Kirishima reaches slowly and presses his fingers over the bandage covered by Bakugo's shirt. Bakugo winces involuntarily, then curses under his breath. See? You have to be careful. If you don't fucking poke my side, then it's fine. Bakugo grumbles. Kirishima sighs. I just don't want you moving so much. You'll reopen the wound. I'm moving my mouth. How the fuck do you think I'll be kissing you, with my hip? You really are an idiot. Kirishima is blank for a moment, then his eyebrows lift. You want a kiss? Bakugo scowls. Not anymore, dumbass. I thought you wanted to. Kirishima falters, still not quite able to say fuck out loud, though that's exactly what they've been doing. He finishes weakly. To have sex. Obviously I want to fuck, but I also kind of want to be able to walk normally, sooner rather than later. Oh. Kirishima feels warm. Not so much the tint of his skin, but inside. Bakugo just wanted to kiss him. We can still... No. Bakugo says, standing. You ruined the moment, and I don't want to anymore. Kirishima laughs at his childishness, and stands to get ready for bed. He strips and folds his clothes out of habit. He redresses Bakugo's wound, barely weeping now, but Kirishima wants to keep the abrasion to a minimum. Bakugo runs his fingers through Kirishima's hair as he kneels before him to wrap him up tight. They climb into bed, Kirishima not tired at all. Bakugo has his back to him, and the moonlight shines in, enough light for Kirishima's eyes to adjust and see in the dimness. Bakugo's back is covered in welted white scars, deep lacerations that cross and join, from what Kirishima knows to be the marks of a whip. Have you seen his back? He remembers Mina's words. Government prison. Kirishima frowns. He knew prisoners weren't treated well, but he wasn't aware of the blatant torture that they were subjected to. He just knew of little food, little water, messy conditions, and then a trip to the gallows for more heinous crimes. What are you doing? Bakugo says, voice even, unreadable. Kirishima blinks and realizes his fingers are on Bakugo's back, tracing down his scarred skin. He whips his hand back, drawing in a sharp breath. Sorry. Government prison, Bakugo says. Mina explained a bit, Kirishima says quietly. I didn't know. You're too ignorant for your own good, Bakugo says. You'll get killed like that. Bakugo turns over onto his back, hiding his scars and revealing the small few on his face. Kirishima takes the moment to ask, what about this one? Which one? Kirishima traces his thumb over the white scar that runs through his lips. This one? Bakugo thinks. A ring, I think. I'm surprised I didn't lose any teeth. Here? Kirishima asks, touching his jaw. Shrapnel. The shit being blasted to bits causes more damage than the cannonball itself, you know. That's why the Crepitus always wins. Kirishima snorts, nodding. What about you? Bakugo says. He taps just over Kirishima's eye. Where do your tough scars come from? Well, Kirishima says, clearing his throat. I believe I acquired 2 on my neck since joining your crew, but the one on my eye... Bakugo waits. When I was little, I woke up to use the bathroom, and I hit my head on the post of my bed in the dark. Kirishima says, sheepish. Bakugo grins, teasing. So you've always been an idiot. I guess. Kirishima smiles back. He sees the corners of Bakugo's eyes crinkle, folding the sun-faded X tattooed on his skin. And he really, really wants to kiss him. He wonders if Bakugo would let him. Kirishima doesn't really initiate, but he knows if he keeps waiting for Bakugo to do so, something sits wrong with him at that. So he leans in and presses his lips to Bakugo. It's chaste, probably the chastest they've done before, and it makes Kirishima's heart flip like it's his first. He supposes that, in some way, in some manner of situating his emotions, it is. He feels Bakugou's breath over his skin, and Kirishima moves closer, letting Bakugou wrap his arms around him and cart his fingers into his sea-tangled hair. He's warm and close, and Kirishima chances to cradle his jaw in his hand as he opens his mouth to let Bakugou lazily slip his tongue inside, dancing along his teeth and bite softly on his bottom lip. His eyes flutter open as Bakugou kisses to the side, down his jaw and his neck. One hand is still in his hair, the other is rubbing down his side. Kirishima feels hot. He hasn't had Bakugou's hands on him in so long, and he can't help but grow hard, straining against his cloth underwear. Bakugou nips at his skin, and his hand slips down under his shorts, squeezing a handful of his ass. Kirishima makes a noise in his throat and stops kissing him, as hard as it is, pushing him away just a little. "Captain." Bakugou scowls. "Fine." He gives Kirishima one last squeeze that almost changes his mind, then turns his back to him as abruptly as he can manage. Kirishima breathes out through his nose, amused. He lifts up on his elbow and hovers over Bakugou, smiling at his powed and furrowed eyebrows. He kisses his cheek, and Bakugou elbows him away, but not before he sees the slight grin play at the corner of his lips. Kirishima settles down into the furs, smiling as he drifts into sleep.